President Trump has called Amazon founder Jeff Bezos a good guy after Amazon rejected the idea of highlighting tariff-impacted prices on its low-cost site, Amazon Haul. Joining us, Haul, H-A-U-L. Joining us now with more on big tech's relationship with the Trump administration, Stephen Levy, editor at large at Wired. Stephen, you got a little bit different take than what I thought. You said just because that they actually tried to, or at least broach the idea of doing this on some of their products, that shows that they're not just automatically bending the knee. I thought the walk back, as quick as it was, I thought that showed total.
The story wasn't accurate.
Right, but they were not about doing the whole thing, but they were going to do it a little. They were considering doing a little. And Stephen is saying that shows that. My point is, you say that in and of itself shows they're not bending the knee.
Well, he wound up ultimately bending the knee because the pressure was so intense. They went out and when the guns blazing, calling it hostile and political, but actually it was informative. Amazon is in a tough position. Like a lot of places, they're going to have to raise prices, and they're not happy about it. And then they're raising prices because of the tariffs. So on one hand, they have to be in lockstep with the president. On the other hand, that's hurting their business. So what's the point of going along with him totally if it's hurting your business anyway? So I think they stuck a toe in the water, saying, gee, maybe we can inform our customers. They got slapped back. But I think other places might, they're smaller places that aren't wrapped up in antitrust suits.
Amazon copped to it. The team that runs our ultra-low cost Amazon Haul store considered the idea of listing import charges on certain products.
But I think there's a different. The reason I bring this up is I feel like there's, first of all, the original Punch Bowl story, and I like Jake Sherman, but the original Punch Bowl story
said it was across the board.
Said that they were doing this across all of Amazon, and that they
did it specify that,
and that they were doing this. Meaning they were doing it across the board. It wasn't they were considering it; they were doing it, and that this was for all of Amazon.
I can't believe we thought it was a good idea.
Okay. Amazon Haul is a tiny, tiny, tiny part of the business that competes with Shein and Temu. And those apps, by the way, if you actually look at them, do a very good job of trying to create as much transparency around each.
That's because they're the TikToks. They're the TikToks.
Because they're the cheapest.
Controlled by Chinese.
Well, but because they're the cheapest. Their whole game is to be cheap, and they're trying to show you basically all of their costs.
Chinese apps.
And they're Chinese apps. So if you were going to compete against them, though, that's something that you would think about. That's totally different than the idea that all of Amazon was ever going to do this. So the idea that they bent the knee or even walked it back, I think is crazy, except for the fact that I think that the president and what the White House did has now effectively put every company in America on notice that transparency around tariff pricing is bad, which is ironic because I remember when Kid Rock showed up at the White House with President Trump and they wanted to put in all sorts of transparency rules around scalping tickets and all sorts of other things.
Every retailer would want to do this.
And you want to be able to do this.
So that they don't get accused of price gouging.
And the president historically has been coming out in favor of transparency in almost every other regard, but when it comes to his own transparency, we don't have it.
But Amazon
look at what's happening. We're in the very beginning of this. The prices increases haven't even started yet. So, and look at the tension, as you say, Andrew, it's just like one little possible step that they were going to take.
There was a call to Bezos. I know, and not a very friendly one, I don't think.
Are they going to call everyone for identifying correctly why the prices are going up?
And are the retailers going to say, okay, you're right, and not do it?
Right, and it looked like
and the public isn't going to realize this. I mean, I think, the bigger picture is that, they said, oh, you're misinforming the public. Well, as you say, it's transparency. People are going to catch on. I think this is just, like a little scuffle that's, portending bigger scuffles to come.
Okay. The other thing we were going to talk about, Stephen, is a lot of the previous bending of the knee to try to I don't know, to try to get around some of the litigation and some of the Justice Department actions that we're seeing, that there's no sign that they're being rewarded for that, at least at this point.
Yeah, it's really interesting. People wondered whether, when Trump would come and end these antitrust actions, someone started by Lena Khan and the Biden Justice Department, and they're holding. I think that the reason why they're holding is to keep leverage on the companies. They keep the foot on the neck of these companies, to make them comply and things like this. There's a standing antitrust suit against Amazon. So I think the reason why we're seeing that isn't particularly because of any antitrust theory, but leverage.
Right. Well, President thinks Jeff's a good guy, so that's the takeaway. I think.
And a poor guy too.
Yeah, exactly. All right.